I'm a walking, living legend, ain't no doubt about it. Stack my money to the sky, I'm just grinding out here. I'm a walking, living legend, ain't no doubt about it. All my faith is in God, that's the reason why I'm here. I'm a walking,
All right, you guys, I have a very special guest tonight on Made in America. I have my husband, Mr. Richardson. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, they call me B Rich. I'm married to this beautiful woman, and so we're gonna kind of tag team today, which I'm honored to do. So hope y'all get some good information from us today.
I'm sure they will. So I have some questions that were already sent to us and already asked. So we're going to go ahead and go into them. The first question that we have was, how did we meet? You have to answer.
Well, that's kind of funny because we met in high school. I was 2 years ahead of her, so I'm a little older. And it was just me and my friends. We was just being crazy friends and picking on the undergrads or the lower, the lower classmen, such. And she was hanging out with her friends, and that's pretty much how I met her. I was picking on one of her friends. Really, it was her cousin, and that's pretty much the first time we encountered each other. Is that how you encounter or remember it, Miss America?
Yeah, that's basically how we met, and then we separated, went our long life ways, and met again at 22, 23?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah, you were 23, I was 22. But either way, and we met at the restaurant I was working at, ended up talking. Yeah, and the rest was like history.
Yeah, it was a couple
whatever
crazy things that happened in between, but yeah, for the most part, it all evened out.
Okay, so I can't remember who asked this one, but they said, when did you know she was the one? And I have to say, when I knew you were the one.
That's kind of hard to pinpoint. I think it was just like a gradual build. I would have to say like the turning point of going from like being in just a relationship, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, going into a serious relationship, is when she kind of asked me to move in. I think that was the like turning point for me. It was like, okay, here we go, taking this big step. And I think after that, it was kind of like I was pretty much locked in after that.
That sounds so restricted. When did I know he was the one? I knew he was the one when at the time I had 2 kids from a previous relationship, which I have shared. You guys, if you listen to the episode called Broken, I talk about things that I've went through and how I came out of it and met this wonderful man. But I had 2 kids, and I think just seeing how well they really accepted my relationship and how much they enjoyed him being around, that kind of was like, for me, like, okay, this is it. I hear you, Lord. I got the one. So I'm going to do everything I can to keep him. Were you apprehensive about blending a family? That's a really good question, because like I said, I had 2 kids, and he had a child as well. So he had 1 and I had 2, and getting married meant that we would all be together. So I'll let you answer this one.
For me, yeah, I was very apprehensive because I had like this rule where I wouldn't date anyone that had more kids than I did. So,
ooh,
and not that I was opposed to it. It's just like I felt like I had 1 child, so anybody I be with is only gonna have to deal with my 1 child, and I should only have to deal with their 1 child. And I was really like skeptical about just fathering someone else's children, because you have that question of favoritism, and you want to I'm a very fair person, so I always wanted to treat each person fair, and I thought that was going to be a really big challenge. But once the relationship was, I mean, was in place, I felt like those things kind of worked themselves out. I mean, it's
You
still a
never like
challenge.
seemed apprehensive to me at all, like ever.
Well, I can't like walk in a room and be like, "Hey, I'm apprehensive about this. I really don't think this is going to work," or "I'm really nervous about this." You kind of roll with the punches as they're coming, you know, and that's kind of what I did. I just roll with the punches.
I think for me, it was more about I wanted to know my role. I didn't want to overstep my boundaries because I didn't want to be someone else's mom. They already had a mom. I wanted to make sure that I was being, like he said, fair and, loving and, accepting and not overstep. And I was always worried that I would overstep because I had just bad experiences in the past with step parents, or I'll say stepmothers. So I really appreciated, that I wanted to be better and just try to be accepting of whatever my stepson's needs would be. But that was my only apprehensive thing, because I knew my kids loved you from day one. So, yeah, they were excited every time you came over for dates. How did we manage blending a family? That's a good question.
I think it was a lot of trial and error. I think it's still something that we work on today. As far as like as the kids get older, things change. Awareness comes to play. Things like that. I think so. The challenges are still there. I think we manage it just by communication and just kind of knowing each other, trusting each other, knowing that if one of us is sensing something that we should do with the children, to just trust that instinct.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we did really well, and we still do really well, is we try to be united in our decisions. So even if we are disagreeing on something, it's something that we would go behind closed doors and have a private conversation about, and not really undermining each other, because kids pick up on that real easy. Like if dad's going to say no, they're going to go ask mom because she's going to say yes, or vice versa. So I think we were really good at always kind of communicating with each other and supporting each other in those decisions, even if we kind of didn't agree at first, but trying out the decision and then letting it play out and seeing what was going to happen, and then talking about it later like, nah, that didn't work, we're not doing that again. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's the key to any blended family, is just trusting and working together and just communicating. I think communication is key.
Which is a good segue into our next question, or what are the tips or takeaways that you could give for a family that is trying to blend? So for me, my takeaway or my tip would be to just stay open. You come in there with all these preconceived notions and thoughts and things that you want to see happen, but you got to be prepared to deal with, different personalities, different situations. So the best thing that you can do is be open and be accepting. And, if you have a certain way that you like to do things, be honest about what you're expecting, but at the same time, don't expect it to happen overnight, because it's an adjustment for everybody. The kids are adjusting, as a parent, you're adjusting, and you're trying to figure out what everybody needs, and everybody needs different things at different times. So the biggest thing I could say is be open. Do you have any special tips?
I would say, I guess being the step parent, even though I don't like using that word as step parents or step children, do realize that you are dealing with a different bloodline. So there's going to be things that happen that you may not understand that's going on with the kids, because you just have to understand that. Trust is going to be key. When you're combining a family, you're actually dealing with more than just you and the person that you're with as the parents. You also have the other parent, as well. And you can't just shut them out in the situation just because now you're running the family. You have to be able to kind of listen to what the other parent says too, because the other parent has
When you
a
say
role
the other
too.
parent, what do you mean, other parent?
Well, I'm just saying everybody has a mother and a father. And if you're marrying someone with children, like for me, this child still has a biological father
Okay.
that I have to include into any decisions that we make.
Right.
And sometimes I have to, as a stepfather or a step parent, sometimes I have to remove myself maybe from the decision making to let the two parents, biological parents, make a decision. And I have to be comfortable with doing that, or it's never going to work. Like, I can't override the biological father in the situation just because it's my household or because I'm with your kid all the time. It has to be a mutual respect. It has to be compromise, because if you don't, it can create other problems, and it cause a lot of confusion with the children as well. So just know that when you have other people involved in the parenting, that sometimes you're just not gonna get your way, and sometimes you have to be okay with that, and understand, like, okay, sometimes the two biological parents may have to come together and make a decision, and you have to kind of be supportive of that decision. And that's a tip that I just think that will go a long way. I think that goes a long way to like helping the kids kind of transition as well.
Especially depending upon the situation, because I know as women, being the other parent on the other side, a lot of times when the new parent comes in, they're focused on their household and they're not thinking about the relationships that happened before. So it's just having that moment to step back and say, they had a whole life, they had a whole relationship, they made this child, and it doesn't just stop because there's a child in play. You have to still be patient and let their feelings work through and let their moment work out so that they can still, grow with you and become a cohesive unit. So we are big advocates for like co-parenting. That doesn't mean that you have to always be in each other's business 100% all the time, but especially when it's an event for the kids or when it's about the kids, school-wise, social, emotional, we do try to talk as much as possible and share things with each other to help us all be great parents to our kids. So just knowing that there is boundaries. There's times when maybe I want to speak on something, but really it has nothing to do with me, and I have to be okay, like he was saying, knowing that I'm not in this part of the conversation, but I am still considered. And we have to, like you said, trust each other and know that even if you're not having the conversation or you're not involved in it, that person still has your best interest at the same time as the child. Did I put that well?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yep.
So kind of getting away from blended families a little bit, because, blending families has so many facets that go into it, and sometimes the blending can cause disputes or arguments. How do you minimize those arguments?
Oh, I was just having a conversation about this. The key to that is, I think, wisdom. Being with somebody all the time, you learn a lot of things about them. I have this thing where I say, like, my wife, she knows how to push the red button if she wants to. I know how to push her red button. When you around somebody, you know them, you know how to push the red button. So
What's
you gotta
the red button?
The red button is like whatever causes you to get angry, whether it's, like for my wife, she hates when people tap her. So if I tap her,
thanks
I know.
For sharing my truth.
And and I think we all have. I think you can be a person with multiple red buttons. Mm-hmm. Some red buttons are probably bigger than the others, but we all have the red button. So I think once you know these red buttons, you don't use them to your advantage. You kind of like try to stay away from them. You don't make people stronger by focusing on their weaknesses. You make people stronger by focusing on their strengths and making their strengths better. And you should, as the other like person in the relationship, should cover their weaknesses to make things better. And I think communication is key, and you have to learn how to communicate. A lot of arguments, many arguments start because of a miscommunication, a misunderstanding.
Yeah, so many arguments, especially when we first got married, and it's been almost 10 years that we've been married, but so many arguments started because of something that was said but not meant, or something that was said but should have been. So, you know, it was just taken the wrong way, or it came off the wrong way. There's so many arguments that happened that could have been avoided just due to the wrong use of word, or just a complete miscommunication altogether due to timing. So I agree with you, you know.
Yeah. And then a lot of times, the argument wouldn't even be about what the argument started from. Like, it could be something that happened like the day before, but today something else happened, but the argument really started the day before, but this is the first time y'all talking about it. So now you're arguing about something you think you're mad about, but you're not really mad about it. You're really mad about what happened yesterday. Instead of saying, you know what, yesterday, or saying, hey, you know what, we need to talk about this and move on from it. I think holding grudges and not speaking up and saying things, and you don't always have to argue. Sometimes you have to just be a listener. If the person in the relationship says, hey, this bothers me, sometimes you just got to take it into consideration and just move on. And I think, like, that's something that my wife and I have been able to do. It took a while, but I think now I understand her a lot more. So, like, when she's talking to me, I know now sometimes just to listen. Because as a man, the first thing I want to do is solve. And sometimes it's not about the...
Yeah, we don't always want our problems fixed.
Right.
We don't want you to figure out what color dress we want to wear or what color shoes match the dress. We just want you to hear about why the shoes don't match the dress and why we're frustrated that there's no clothes in the closet that fit.
Exactly. And as a man, it's hard to just listen, because it's like, we were trained to fix things and become problem solvers. And then for men, it's like, when we say something, we actually want actions taken, and sometimes the woman is like, I heard what you said, but...
And I plan on doing that next week.
Right. But, we kind of want more of a quicker right now response. So I think once you understand that and understand how the different sexes think as well, like how a woman thinks and how a man thinks, you don't have to be a master at it, but you should have some sort of simple ideal of that. And I think that can help stop arguments or keep arguments to a minimum. And I'm not saying that arguments are good in a relationship, but if you're in a relationship and you don't have conflict, I think that's a point of worry.
Mm-hmm. We had some of our best arguments actually helped us understand each other more.
Yeah.
Or ourselves more. I think I grew up a lot with some of our arguments. I learned about how I think about things and how I see things, and then I started to hear his viewpoint and understand how he thinks. So that helped me push past some of my weaknesses and become stronger in areas that before I would be considered very weak in. One of the things that he's really bold about his feelings and what he says, and sometimes people are like, that was really harsh, but I love it because I know exactly what he's thinking and I don't take it personally. I've learned to understand that, no, he just needed to say that and get it out. And then it opens up the door for us to talk about whatever else is going on and get to the real root of the problem. Because you might be complaining about, dirty socks when really it's a deeper issue of something else that's going on. So for me, at first I didn't like conflict. I didn't like the arguments, but now I'm kind of happy that we do have them, because there's so much growth that happens from the argument. Did we cover everything?
Yeah.
Did I give too much on the argument? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, to say that you liked arguing, I think
do.
that was...
I do like arguing with you. Sometimes I start them just to get a reaction.
I like arguing. Yeah, I like to argue. I don't like to argue with my wife, but it happens. So I'm accepting of those arguments.
You hear this argument right now? See?
I'm accepting of them because she is right. They do help you grow. But I don't necessarily say that I like arguing with my wife. I like when we're having a good time, laughing, joking, and, you know, we got each other back. But, you know, like I said, the arguing makes those moments that much more better.
I still have your back when I'm arguing with you. I'm just on the other side of your back.
Exactly.
Well, that leads us to our last question is how do you stay married? It's been like almost 10 years, dude. Been married for a minute.
I think the thing that makes people stay married is you have to understand the needs of the other person. When it comes to man and female, or male and female, I should say it more like that. That sounds better. You have to understand what each one needs. And I think when we first got married, the first thing that I found out is that women need love. So you have to love on a woman. You have to kind of like cherish them, because a lot of times a woman is giving you their heart, and that's not easy for a woman to do. And a man, we can easily take that heart and crush it, break it, smash it, throw it around, whatever. And the woman will constantly, you know, pick up that broken heart and give it back to us, and we'll find ways to mess it up again.
Not this one.
And that's because women, I believe that's what a woman desires, is love from her husband. And I believe that men, I know for a fact, men, we want support, we want respect, we want to feel like we have a person that's with us that believes in us just as much as we believe in ourselves. And I think the support factor is the biggest thing that a man needs from his woman, is support. Because if we get that from our woman, it makes us feel that much more capable of accomplishing whatever we're trying to accomplish. So if women understand that about men, and men understand that about their wives, if husband and wives understand that about each other, that's how you stay married. That's how you stay married. Knowing that, okay, I love my wife. And you gotta know how to express that love. You gotta understand what she likes, you know, how she likes to be loved, you know. Some women like to get flowers every day. So if that's what you gotta do to show your wife love, you find a way to do that.
I think what you said is key. I don't know about your whole statement that we need love. I think that's both ways. But for me, we need stability. We need to know that things are going to be in place and in an order. And that is something that if you are stable in your decisions, that shows me that you love and you care for me.
Oh, yeah.
And I fully agree that, you know, at the same time, support would be your most needed thing from me. But, you know, on the other end, I think we also have to think about when you said individual needs, that's the super important factor to focus in on. Knowing what your specific partner, you know, wants and how they want to be loved is key. And I like what you said, like if flowers every day is their thing, then that's what you do. You kind of adjust and make sure that you're showing them the love that they need. But also just kind of growing together. Like, sometimes that means a big compromise, because who wants to buy flowers every day?
Exactly. You might have to get flowers once a month, you know, but you got to be willing to accept that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Another thing I want to say, you have to be able to take your wife or your husband, you have to take their flaws. You can't just ask for the good and basically not expect the bad. I mean, we all have things that we need to work on, or things that may not be up to par, but you gotta be willing to accept that. If you're truly gonna be with this person, and you're truly gonna make a relationship with this person, have a successful relationship with the person, you have to take the good with the bad.
I'll say that. And with the same instance, you have to be open and honest about what you're willing to accept. Even before the marriage begins, that should start. But even while you're married, like, I don't like socks in the bed at night. And I don't want to accept that. But in the sense of compromise, I still have to understand how to communicate that in a respectful way. Being upfront, being honest, but accepting that some nights he's still going to wear his socks in the bed. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
So, in how you stay married, I mean, what other things do you do to stay married?
Other things. I think you have to also know when to give your spouse space.
That's good.
I mean, because as much as you want to be around your spouse, you have to understand there's going to be times where, you know, you got to let your spouse go out with their friends. You have to let them go do things without you. I think it's unhealthy for a husband and wife to be together all the time. Like,
You don't want to go put makeup on with me at Sephora?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, I mean, and I think there's moments where, hey, I might have to go do something girly with you just because, but not because I don't have to do the girly thing. But if you said, hey, babe, I want to go try on some clothes, can you go with me? That's fine, but I don't need to go with you every single time. You have friends that can go with you as well. You know, I don't think you need to go to the play basketball with me and my friends. I mean, there's times where you can come watch us, whatever, but I think people get caught up into this, like, this puppy love dream thing where you and your spouse get together and then y'all wear the same outfit every day and y'all go jogging.
You don't want to wear the same outfit as me?
Only when we go to the Michigan game. But I think sometimes you could really create an unhealthy relationship like that, where you're with your spouse like 24/7, and
no me time, no free time.
No me time, no free time. You don't even have like friends anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't do anything. Y'all gotta do everything together. Y'all cook together. Y'all clean together.
You sound really upset about this.
I just really think it's unhealthy. Like, I think, like, my wife and I, we have times where we are not together.
We do. And if you are, like, lacking in time with your husband and you're saying, I want more time with my wife or my husband, the one thing you have to do, especially as women, you have to kind of learn to like what they like. So, I never really watched football before. My husband watched it all the time, and I'm like, I hate that he watches so much football. And then I started to sit down and, like, really watch the game, and somehow I got into it. Now I'm like, oh, I'm a super big fan. And yes, go Blue, by the way, any of you State fans listening. But I definitely appreciate, that he was able to explain it to me and share what he likes. So it makes me like something that he likes. And then, like he said, we'll go to the games and we will wear matching U of M outfits all the time. But, you have to adjust as well. If you're feeling like you're not getting the attention or the love that you need, then you need to find out how to incorporate and do things together.
Exactly. And sometimes you gotta find what that commonality is too. Like, one thing, I noticed, like, when we first got together, we've realized that we both like video games. Mm-hmm. We don't like the same video games, but we do like playing video games. And then we found a video game that we liked together. So we would play...
I was just telling somebody about this story.
Yeah, we would play like Soul Calibur, like, and we could play for hours. And it was like, cool, we got something that we commonly can watch or play together. Like you said, I watched football, but then there was things that we both like to watch. So that was like our time. Like, we can come together and watch this together or do this together because we both like this.
We both are like Marvel fans, so we'll watch like X-Men cartoons together or whatever it is, that you like to do, or Marvel movies, whatever it could be. That is our time that we can enjoy something that we like to do on our own, but also together.
Yeah, and then it comes to that other thing, like we said, compromising. Even like sometimes we go to the video store and it might be a movie that she wants to watch that I don't want to watch.
Notebook. Every time. He does not want to watch Notebook.
Actually, I like the Notebook. It'd be more so like drama, like plays that you watched that you wanted to watch. Like,
Chicago. You liked Chicago.
I never watched Chicago.
You didn't watch it with me?
No. I watched
oh, that's right. You
Murder
watched
on the Midnight Express.
Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
That's right. You were watching football when I watched Chicago. See, that was something we did separate. But most times.
Right. And it'd be movies that I'm watching that she don't really want to watch, but she'll watch it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but sometimes you just gotta compromise like that, you know. And the same thing with the kids. The kids, you want to watch this and that, and I'll be like, I don't want to watch this, but sometimes I just have to sit down and watch it with them, and you know, just be happy that they're watching something and that they want to watch it with me, because you know they get to an age where they don't want to do anything with you. So it's like sometimes you gotta just compromise in a lot of aspects, and that usually leads to a healthy marriage.
Making it fun, definitely doing new things together. So recently we went on like a photo shoot date. I did that with Kendra Lanise, so check her out. There's an interview where I actually sit down with her and talk about her photography, but it was actually nice because we got a chance to spend some time together and take pictures together. But it was also nice because we got to learn a little bit more about each other through her little photo session, which was pretty interesting. Like, she had him like whisper things in my ear that, you know, what he loved about me, things like that. And we wouldn't normally do that with each other. So getting out there and doing something different, and I appreciate him because I literally was like, get in the car, we're going on a photo shoot. You know, just being open-minded with each other and trying something new. I mean, I don't know, this year we're going to try to go golfing together, or maybe separate, I don't know. But just learning new things with each other is going to be a fun and exciting experience. And it feels like you kind of grow with that person because you're trying something new, but you're experiencing it together for the first time.
And then recognize the stages of your relationship. I think when you recognize that you're not in the same stage that you were 2 years ago,
5 years ago,
5 years ago, just realize that there's different stages, and you have to continue going through those stages and evolving in your relationship. Because if you're still doing the same stuff that you were doing at the beginning of your relationship, it's gonna I think that hinders your relationship from going where it could go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're in that process of, you know, I always tell myself, you know, we're not trying to just be like a regular married couple. We're trying to be a power married couple, you know, a married couple that we can set the example for, you know, our families, our children, other married couples. We don't want to just be that married couple over there. We want to be like that model married couple that, you know what, they really came far from where they started. And I think that, keep that in mind when you're just trying to, you know, even if you're going through something in your marriage, or you don't know what's going on or whatever, just recognize what stage in your relationship are you in. You know, have you evolved from the beginning of your marriage to where you are now, or are you still dealing with the same issues that you were dealing at the beginning of the marriage? Because those things can indicate where you are and how healthy your relationship is, because you should be able to move on. And you know, once you get over one obstacle, you should be facing something different. You shouldn't be facing the same thing. You know, the same, you're dealing with the same issue from year 1 in year 10. That's kind of, to me, that's bad. Is there going to be things that you're going to have to work on all the time? Yeah. But you should be, you know, evolving in that area or advanced in that area.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Like, he just said something tonight that I didn't really know. So, learning something new, guys. But yeah, I never knew that you thought of us as like role models, or I don't know, wanting us to be an example. But I think that's a good thing, because I do sense that in our conversations that we had, we both come from similar family backgrounds where we've seen a lot of different non-traditional style families, not the typical, you know, father, mother, married for 50 years. That's not our truth. So the fact that we're trying to keep our marriage, you know, fresh and keep it together, work on it and work together, is something that I believe in too. And it's good to hear you say that. Going to the Bible, Ephesians 5:25 actually says, for husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. And then also if you go into Genesis 2:24, it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So, just the fact that we're working together to build that one unit, and even though that we oftentimes have to go in different directions as far as our growth and our expansion in life, spirituality, whatever it may be, we are still working and moving as one. So I think that's pretty awesome to hear you say that. Kind of opened up my eyes too.
Thank you. I'm glad we had this conversation, actually. It's been a while, but I like it. So, now I hope this reaches other couples, and I hope that it helps other couples, and hopefully we can have some more in-depth discussions about maybe more specific areas of marriage, maybe elaborate on some of the things we talked about today, and kind of just expand on it even more. Even get some feedback from people. Maybe you have some questions about marriage or relationships. Maybe you're thinking about getting married and you just want to know some things, or maybe you've been married for a little while and you want to know, just a second opinion or another opinion. I mean, I think communication among married couples is key as well. Because some married couples may be stronger. Well, I know for a fact other married couples may be stronger in certain areas than other married couples, and maybe you went through something constantly and you figured it out, and some people may not have been experienced in that area. So I think wisdom shared among the community of married people helps grow every marriage that much more.
Agreed. And again, there's other, episodes on here that you can follow, but definitely tune in. The ones that state Room 719 and MIA will have all of the marriage talks on there, because it'll be a safe space for us to talk. And again, leave your comments however you follow, either Instagram, you can direct message me your questions. On Facebook, you can drop them on the Facebook page, and you can also use the email button to email me your questions. And I do appreciate everyone that did send questions for this podcast today. And if you would like me to shout you out in the future podcasts with your question, please include that in the comment. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap it up for tonight, and this will be available for download at any time on the Spreaker website. And again, it is www.spreaker.com/Made in America. You have a great night.